WNUR Sports Voice, you're listening to 89.3 FM. I'm Claire Connor here with Sammy Krimstein, and we're so excited to get started with tonight's episode, our first Sports Voice episode with one of our spectacular freshmen. We're here with Kaplan and Dylan Friedland, a Sports Voice regular at this point, and we're so excited to talk through a great week of Northwestern sports.
Yeah, we really are. This is going to be a really fun episode for a lot of reasons. It's always exciting to be on Sports Voice. So, Northwestern sports, national sports, that's nothing new. But today, of course, Calvin coming in here for the first time, freshman, and we also have a very first for Sports Voice. We have an interview coming for you guys later today. For those of you listening on the radio, unfortunately, we've had some last-minute technical difficulties with the computer. It's given us a frowny face, and it is just not working. So we will still get you the interview, but we're going to play it from the computer audio, so no need to worry there. If you want to see the interview later, it will be available on YouTube, so you can go check that out, or you could come to our YouTube live stream on the WNUR Sports YouTube channel, which is also brand new. So just wanted to clear up some of those technical things, but let's get back to the show. And Calvin, introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, and tell us what you're most excited about as a freshman being at Northwestern.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on Sports Voice. I've looked forward to coming on shows like this, and I'm really excited to be here on the radio. Like you said, my name's Calvin. I'm from Northern Virginia. I'm a freshman at Northwestern. Honestly, I've really looked forward to joining a lot of these extracurricular opportunities that Northwestern has, WNUR being one of them. I'm just excited to be here, chop it up about sports for the next hour.
Yeah, absolutely. So are we.
We're so excited to have you on the show, Calvin, and we'll just get started right away with some Northwestern sports. A little roundup here. First, we're going to talk about field hockey. Number 2, Northwestern beat number 17, Penn State 7-2 today, which extends now a 12-game win streak. The Cats were up 4-0 at the half and maintained their lead throughout the rest of the game. Ashley Sessa and Lauren Wadis led scoring for the Cats with 2 goals each, supported by 2 assists from Ilsa Trump. The Cats are ranked in that number 2 spot behind North Carolina right now, which is a team that this squad lost to in last year's national championship, a painful loss for Cats fans. But they're out for revenge this time around, and so what, if anything, can stop this team from getting to a national championship this game, and what are going to be the key factors in sort of potentially beating this North Carolina team? Dylan, you were at the game calling it, so we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this Penn State team, yes, they're ranked 17th. They should not be ranked personally. They are essentially, you take LeBron James and you stick him on DePaul basketball. And I feel like that's what you kind of get with this Penn State field hockey team. They have one of the best players in the nation in Fia Gladio, an Olympian, actually roomed with Ashley Sessa at the Olympics, leads their team with 17 goals, and the rest of the team combined only has 10 goals. She's incredible, and the rest of the Penn State team is just not very good. However, Northwestern today showed why they belong to be the number 2 team in the country. It was the first time where they were consistently generating offensive pressure, really just generating a lot of those penalty corners and getting chances on those corner opportunities. Ilsa Trump has been incredible. Ashley Sessa 5 goals on the weekend with a hat trick against Rutgers, taking a goal away from Olivia Bencola, an empty net goal. But they were really generating pressure, and I mean, Lauren Wadis with 2 goals today was really great, both in the run of play and on some of those corners. So it was really great to see them finally performing and just firing on all cylinders throughout both of these games this weekend. They look like a team that can contend, finally beating up on teams that they arguably should be. And that's probably a big reason why they're ranked number 2 right now compared to being ranked number 1, is because they were playing a lot of really close 1-0 games where they really weren't beating up on teams that they were supposed to. And now they're finally going ahead and really taking care of what they need to be doing. Annabelle Skubish as well, only 5 goals allowed on the season, looks just incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm with you there. And you mentioned about specifically those 1-0 wins. There are, of course, Northwestern had 5 wins this season by 1 goal. 4 of those were 1-0. And like you also talked about, they haven't really been beating up on teams. They haven't really generated offensive firepower to the extreme. A lot of these games have been close and relied on their defense. Yes, this team is 12-0, but there's a reason why North Carolina is number 1. I still think they have a realistic shot to make it back to that title game for the 3rd year in a row, but at the same time, they're just not blowing teams out consistently the same way North Carolina has with this last game. Like you mentioned, a step in the right direction.
Yeah, a step in the right direction for sure, and I mean, I think the Cats, they're number 2 right now. Do you guys think that could be changing when the next poll comes out? I'm sure maybe there's some heated thoughts on this.
UNC is a good team. They deserve to be number 1. It's also worrisome right now. Olivia Bent-Cole went down with injury in today's game, and it looked almost like a non-contact injury, so not quite sure what's going to happen with that. Hopefully she's okay. She was kind of walking around a little gingerly at the end of the game. But no, UNC deserves to be number 1. Northwestern still has a lot to prove. We played some good teams, but a big thing is a lot of our games have been home wins as well. And typically the way the RPI and some of these rankings work is they're not going to value some of those home wins as big as UNC's road wins will count. Northwestern still has some big games coming up against Michigan and Ohio State. I didn't see who won the game today between these two, but those are 2 of the better teams in the Big Ten. So they need to pick up some more big wins before we really have that conversation, but I think UNC deserves to be number 1.
Yeah, you talk about that Michigan game. I was actually going to bring that up in just a moment. I mean, Northwestern's going to face them on the 25th, but they did defeat Ohio State today, and that's key because to this point, the Wolverines, they had just 1 loss, but hadn't really been tested this year. I'd expect them to climb up in the rankings subsequently because of this win, and now, I mean, that's a team. If you want to talk about a team that's been blowing people out, Michigan has been doing just that. That's a game that Northwestern might need to be a little bit concerned about on October 25th on the road. That's going to be a big one for them as they close in on the postseason.
Yeah, well, now I believe it is time to switch over to football. And they played yesterday against a hot Indiana team, a team that had come into the game with 5 consecutive wins for the first time in decades. 5-0, ranked number 23 in the country. But Northwestern, despite being a massive underdog, gave them quite the run for their money. Big Ten home opener. First of all, were both of you guys at the game?
Of course.
Of course. Also,
Perfect.
of course.
Perfect. I mean, the atmosphere was electric. I was able to cover it for NNN Sports Night, was talking to people all over the place about the atmosphere, and there's a clear consensus. People love what Northwestern has done on the lake. So before we even get to the football, just tell me about your experience. I think, Dylan, you've probably been before to the Lakeside games, but Calvin, was this your first time?
Very first time. I mean, I've seen the stadium, of course, but I mean, I loved the experience overall. I mean, obviously, the stadium seats about 12,000 people, but I really felt like a home stadium. I mean, the Indiana fans traveled maybe a little bit better than expected, but that student section, it was packed. A great experience overall in my first game there, and I mean, we'll get to the game itself, but Northwestern kept it close for a good bit of it.
Yeah, I mean, the stadium itself is awesome. One issue I think I know Claire was mentioning the same thing to me at the game, is just the sound issue. It was really hard to hear kind of the music and the band just from where we were kind of in the student section. But I loved it, though. The students stayed, which was always a great thing. I mean, in past years, last year's Minnesota game, I mean, the freshmen, that was their first game, they were all gone by halfway through the second quarter. Yeah, I stayed. I am proud. I'm one of the 14 people that stayed in the crowd for that game. But it was good to see, and the students were loud. Some of them didn't want to stand at times, but they eventually all got to standing, and it was a good time. The game itself was honestly a fun game to watch. Yes, as a Northwestern fan, you want them to win, but if you're just a neutral football fan watching that game, it was an enjoyable game to be at, to watch. So yeah, and Northwestern played better than I expected against a really nice Indiana team.
Yeah, let's talk a little more specifics about the game itself. Indiana, that offense looks unstoppable. I mean, the air attack has been consistent through all 6 of their games so far, and they've just been putting up points like no one's business. Are they a legitimate team in the Big Ten? I mean, they're now ranked above Michigan, which who would have thought that Indiana and Illinois, I believe, are now ranked above the defending champions. So just give me your thoughts on Indiana and where they sit in the Big Ten.
I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, you talk about Michigan, they have problems of their own, whether it's Warren, whether it's Alex Orji at QB, there's certainly been a fall off from last year's national championship team that's been evident ever since the opening game against Fresno State. But I don't think Indiana's legit. I mean, I think they're legit to an extent, but you have to look at their schedule. They really haven't had particularly difficult matchups. I mean, one of the hardest ones you can point to is UCLA. This is not your typical Big Ten schedule. Yes, they've been tested to an extent, but this is a game against Northwestern they were supposed to win. It's not a shock that they're 6-0. Credit to the Hoosiers for winning the games they're supposed to win because, in football, anything can happen, as we saw, of course, with Alabama and Vanderbilt over the weekend. At the same time, though, I don't think this is a team that contends for the playoff, and I do think facing stiffer competition, the Hoosiers would kind of be more like deer under headlights.
I don't know. This team It's hard to tell exactly. I mean, this was a good win against a Northwestern team that honestly played pretty well. Their offense is so impactful, and I mean, it's going to be tough to find. Yes, Northwestern's defense is not up to par with some of those top Big Ten defenses, but the way they performed yesterday, and I mean, I think they've put up like 40-plus points in every game. I don't know what the exact statistic is, but they look serious. They look dominant. I think they might be third highest scoring offense in NCAA right now. I think that might be what I was checking when I was looking at Miami stats. But they look really good. Playoff question mark. I mean, look, expanded playoff, anything could happen. Could I see them sneak into that like 10 through 12 spot? Absolutely. It would take a lot more big wins and some more big wins over some more ranked opponents, but I think they're legit. I do personally think that they've got what it kind of takes.
We will be continuing the college football talk later. I know, Calvin, you mentioned the shocking Vanderbilt-Alabama game. We will be touching on that, but for now, it's time to move on to our third Northwestern sport and the very first on SportsVoice.
And that is volleyball. This does, as Sammy points out, mark our first player interview on SportsVoice. It's a kind of segment that we're so excited to have more of this year, but I'm thrilled that we get to open it up with an interview with Kennedy Hill, one of the team captains of Northwestern Volleyball, and a high school classmate of mine.
Which is so funny. Yeah, that's just awesome.
We were in the same Spanish class. Shout out Senora Escarpeta. We had a lot of fun in that class. And, now we're in the same SportsVoice interview. So without further ado, here's our interview.
And again, if you're listening on the air, apologies if it's a little tough to hear. We are having some computer problems at the OACR, but we're going to do our best. Here is Kennedy Hill for you coming up. Kennedy Hill, thank you so much for joining us from Northwestern Volleyball.
First course.
Yeah, how you doing? I know we're recording this on a Friday. You guys have a game tonight, so
yeah,
feeling good?
Yeah, feeling great. I actually just woke up from a nap, so I am trying to get as much rest as possible before our game today. So yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you first got involved with volleyball and, why you liked it so much?
Yeah, of course. I first started when I was 13 years old. At least I started with club when I was 13 years old. So that's when it first got serious. So in 8th grade, I took a volleyball camp, I think. And it was just for fun, honestly, a time filler. I was taking so many camps at that point, like basketball, swim, volleyball was one of them. And then one of the coaches from the volleyball camp actually at Harbor Westlake, because they held those during summer at Harbor Westlake, he pulled me aside and he was like, I think you should play on club. And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I should. This sounds really fun. So I actually kind of went to a couple of their practices the next week. And then I was like, okay, I think I really like this. Everyone's really nice. And then I also just really enjoyed playing it. Like, it was just really fun. Like basketball, I didn't really enjoy it. Swim, didn't really enjoy it. But volleyball, it was just so fun and so fast. Like, it was just really exciting. Like, there's something happening every point. So I was, that's how I first got into it. And then eventually I moved into Surfside Club, and then I moved into Sunshine, and then that's how I got to Northwestern.
And how was the recruiting process in high school for you? Like, when did you first start hearing from schools? Like, how was it when you first started hearing from schools? I know that's very exciting for any student athlete.
Yeah, so I think I was the first age group to actually have the NCAA rule change that you can't talk to girls until they are going into their junior year of high school. So on June 15th, going into my junior year, middle of COVID, we were all quarantined. I received a bunch of emails the day June 15th hit, and I had a kind of preliminary list that I was kind of interested in. I wanted to talk to all the Ivies. I wanted to talk to UCLA, USC, Stanford. Like, I wanted to talk to everyone. I didn't even have Northwestern on my list, though. It was everyone but Northwestern. And I, going into my junior year, I didn't know anything. I was just like, okay, this list is fine. But then Northwestern, I got an email from them, and I was like, oh my gosh, I never even thought of Northwestern. And they're in the Big Ten, and they're a top 10 school. Like, I don't know how I didn't think of them. So once I started talking to them, I was like, I think this school might be where I envisioned myself being. And it was just so funny because they weren't even on my list in the first place. And obviously it's a daunting decision to make going into your junior year because you're like, I don't even know what I want. And also, let alone I couldn't visit the campus because of quarantine. So I had no clue what to expect when I came to Northwestern. I had no sense for how the campus felt or anything like that. So it was definitely scary, the whole recruiting process, but it was also very nice to be able to talk to so many coaches who, they just want to. Most of them want to just see the best for you and want you to make the best decision for yourself, knowing that this is like a lifelong decision. So yeah, it was a good experience. And then eventually I settled on Northwestern, obviously. And yeah, here I am.
Absolutely. And, for any listeners, I know we said this before we started recording, but Kennedy both went to Harvard Westlake for high school.
Yeah.
You actually, I think, were maybe the first person that I knew, even if it was over Zoom in Spanish class, who was going to Northwestern.
That's so funny.
And then kind of on that topic, looking back sort of to the beginning of your journey, now you're somebody who's, one of the sort of team leaders and like a public face of the team a lot of the time here at Northwestern. Obviously, losing 7 key members of the team heading into this season is a big deal for a dynamic like that. So what kind of role have you taken on as a returning veteran, and what do you find rewarding about it?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting because my position is rarely a captain. So I was honored to be picked by my team as captain. It's normally, a 6 rotation outside or a setter. And so, going into this season, I obviously, like you said, we lost a lot of people. And even the year before that, we lost a lot of people. So, it's a completely new team. And I feel like that was our motivation, was that we kind of, in a sense, had nothing to really lose. No one knows our team. No one knows our coach, but that's like kind of our advantage going into games. So, we were able to get a few good transfers. Like Duce is on. We love her. She has been um, such a good source of energy on the court. And I feel like as a leader, that's so nice to see because that's what we fuel off of. And I know that's what we feel off of, but it's only a couple of us and it doesn't matter. But if it's all of us, then it's amazing. So, I have also been trying to have people go through affirmations before games as well, like kind of remind themselves why they're here and like why they deserve to be here and that they deserve to be in the Big Ten and to be going against these amazing teams, because I feel like that's an important thing to remember when you go here. Northwestern is an underdog in a lot of aspects, going into sports. Of course, there's the exceptions like field hockey, lacrosse. They're amazing. Softball, amazing. But volleyball, we are in the hardest volleyball conference in the nation. So I feel like just instilling those good mental health values in our team is like something that Alexa, Sienna, Sophia, and I, we've all been trying to help our team get into.
Fun to get some of that behind the scenes. And along those lines, like what are other things you could tell us about maybe your personal pregame routine? Like, are there snacks or music that you like, or any superstitions?
Yeah. So let's see. I have an NIL deal with Backlot Coffee on Central Street, and I think that's honestly my everyday ritual, but on all game days, I have to like stop by there because they're kind of like my, like, I don't know. It's just nice to be able to see them. I first of all love everybody in that store. It's nice to see them and say hi and have a little quick conversation, kind of like forget about all my anxiety about the game later that day and also get a cup of anti-anxiety. So I am able to get my favorite coffee from there. That's definitely something I do before every game. I am a very big proponent of 90s R&B music, early 2000s R&B music. I listen to that every single day, but especially on game days. It's like not usually the type of music you expect to hype someone up, but it does for me. I grew up listening to it, and I still do.
You know, these past few years, I mean, you're just a player who plays with a lot of energy, excitement, passion, right?
Yeah,
And you know, it's kind of made you one of the faces in Northwestern volleyball. Like you're on the big
yeah.
screen and like the graphics and stuff, which is really cool to see. So, what keeps coming you back each and every day, bringing that kind of energy and passion to the game of volleyball?
Honestly, it's just volleyball gives me such an adrenaline boost. I think like just playing the sport is just like no matter how tired I am, like today, so tired, but I know I'll be locked in when the game comes in because like once you start getting those first swings, you're like, okay, I'm excited. Like we're playing a top 25 team. Like this is gonna be good. Like I can't wait to like let's say like I can't wait to block Eva Hudson. You know what I'm saying? Like just stuff like that. You start thinking about the game, like and like one like I said, Bousse, for example, will like feed off my energy, and then we'll just start bouncing off each other, and then I'll start bouncing off of Rylan, and then we just start making jokes. It's just like an accumulation, I think, throughout the day. And then once the game comes around, it's like, okay, I'm ready. And if my teammate slash best friend gets a kill right now, I'm gonna scream my head out, scream my head off. Like it's just like I don't know. I think volleyball is just such a good sport for that because, like I said earlier, it's like something is happening every single point, and usually it's something so exciting, something so explosive. So yeah, that's what gets me through, and that's how I have so much energy on the court. It's just so fun, and I'm playing with people I love. So
Thank you so much again to Kennedy for doing this interview with us. We had so much fun talking to her earlier this week, and we're excited for the rest of what this volleyball season has to offer. That being said, it is now time for us to move on to one of our favorite fun segments. We like to call this Pick'em. For new listeners, we have a set of 3 questions, some of them sports related, one of them not this time, for our guests. And Sammy and I, as the name suggests, will pick the best answer. Best is highly subjective here, and we're very proud of that at SportsVoice. What is the best for us one night might be completely different from another week. But we have 3 questions ready for our guests. They'll each be rewarded a point for every winning answer, and at the end we'll tally up all the points in addition to points from the winner of our draft at the very end of the night, and we'll declare a night-long winner. But with that, our first pick'em question of the day, I like to call this Addicted to the Calgorithm. The Cal Bears suffered a narrow loss to Miami last night, falling in a high-stakes battle during one of their most energetic football seasons yet. And this energy stems in part from the Calgorithm, which is, what people have called a social media obsession with a surprisingly good Bears team. Not your Bears, Sammy.
Hey, the Chicago Bears are also surprisingly good.
Chicago Bears, yes. This time a different, surprisingly good Bears team, especially as they face Floridian football powerhouses. From woke versus Coke to ought to go, we've seen plenty of memes, especially on Twitter, or on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter.
This is true.
But what's the best one? We want your favorite meme. Remember that this is a radio show and that the FCC exists. So those are actually some boundaries given the context of what I've seen online. But what is your favorite Calgorithm meme? We'll start with Dylan.
Okay. First of all, I think we should do the Cal chant because I have it stuck in my head. So, do you know the call and response? I'm going to change it up just slightly, though, but I need you to do the call and response with me. Okay, ready? You know it.
You know it?
No. You're supposed to say what?
What?
Because
I don't know.
I thought you watched College Game Day. Come on, they were doing this chant. Okay, hold on. We're going to try this again. Ready? So you say what after my first 2 statements, all right? You know it.
What?
You tell the story.
What?
You tell the whole damn world this is hurricane territory. Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course, the Hurricanes.
Yes.
Yes.
Go Canes. It was a great game, first of all. We need to discuss that. Anyways, favorite memes. The woke vs. Coke was great. I saw another one. I'm a big fan of the Miami-Notre Dame rivalry as well, which is sometimes known as Catholics versus convicts. I saw someone say communists versus convicts, and I thought that was hilarious. That's not the answer that I'm going with, though. The answer I'm going to go with is because Miami won, of course. We're taking the spirit of communism. Cal had a well-deserved win. They deserved that win. However, in the spirit of communism, it was taken away from them. It became, Miami fans made it our win. So, our win in the spirit of communism for Miami fans. Go Canes.
All right, I guess I will hop in here and like you mentioned, lots of stuff we can't really talk about here, and lots of academically oriented ones, like someone with just not even a poster, a notebook, saying something like too busy with midterms, no poster time, putting in the absolute bare minimum of effort there. I think my actual favorite, and this is kind of one that you can dig into history for, in 1819, of course, acquisition of Florida for the United States, and someone put up a sign that said the Adams-Onis Treaty was a mistake. That was my number one.
Great answers from both of you. Sammy and I will deliberate on this, and we'll announce answers for all three at the very end. But, a great start to pick them, and I'll move it to Sammy for our second question.
Yeah, so I took the second one because Claire wrote all these, and this one was called Mr. Blue Sky, and I do love ELO. I saw them live. I'm an old man when it comes to my music taste. So, it was, I had to take this one. So I'm going to read the question, and then going to get some answers from you guys. So, we used to do some segments on Sports Voice that weren't about the sports, as Claire mentioned, about getting to know you, how good this campus is. We all love it. Chicago. We're going to bring that back in to talk about the weather, hence Mr. Blue Sky. Because it has been really good. This is kind of that, honeymoon phase, right? We get here late September, it's nice, the sun is out, the sky is blue, all that. And, for you, Calvin, get ready, because I think in 2 or 3 weeks, and it's not going to be a gradual shift. It's going to be a sudden shift to freezing cold, snow, blizzards, not hurricanes.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Not that. No, that's South Florida.
Wednesday's about to be really bad.
So it's because it's absolutely gorgeous out. 70s, 80s, through mid-October. We're gonna ask you guys if you have a completely free Saturday to do whatever you want to do on campus in Evanston, Chicagoland. Weather's perfect. What are you gonna do? Talk us through your day. So let's hear Calvin first as the freshman, right? Let's see what he has to say.
Well, I'm afraid mine is too generic as a freshman, because I'm going to have to get like half of my recommendations from my roommate who's from around here, because, this only been on campus for a few weeks, but having put something together, from what I've seen, I would probably, start off sleeping in. I would probably go to my roommate for a day of restaurant recs. I've looked around campus a little bit, probably get deep dish. I know it's cliche, but that's something I've treated myself to only a couple times in my life and enjoyed it in both of those times. I'm actually not as much of a Chicago-style hot dog person. I would say I'm more of a hot dog purist in that department, but, deep dish pizza. Maybe we'll just have deep dish pizza 3 meals a day. But I would also say, football, that's my number one sport. Definitely have to go to a Bears game at Soldier Field, experience what an actual passable NFL stadium feels like, being from Northern Virginia by what's now known as Northwest Stadium, which is definitely the worst stadium in the league if you've seen what's happened, with sewage problems or, quarterbacks almost getting taken out for the year by like the bleachers and stands falling down. But I'd go to a Bears game, and then other than that, probably just a couple of, museums around Chicago. I had the chance to visit the Museum of Science and Industry. It was very interesting. Would go back there. And then as long as the weather's nice, come back here to the beach, evening swim. It's probably going to wrap up the day.
That's a good day. Nice and busy. I love it.
And I'm a big proponent of that evening swim, Calvin. I have to say, I think it's so underrated. The water is actually really nice, especially on South Beach, Park Street Beach at this time of year. So for anyone listening, go for that evening swim. You won't regret it.
All right, let's hear Dylan's day.
Okay, so the evening swim is very tempting. As a South Floridian, I have my thoughts on the beach, which will be part of this day. I'm going to say I'm waking up around 9:30, slightly sleeping in, but making the most out of the nice day in Evanston, All depends on when I went to sleep the night before as well, which plays a role. But we're going to wake up at 9:30. Going to make myself some nice breakfast now that I'm starting to learn how to cook. We're making some nice eggs, all right? That's what we're doing for breakfast. We're saving money, though, because we got to be smart about this and how we're going to spend money. Chicago can be a slightly expensive place at times. Now, to me, I had an amazing day last November. It was an amazing day. I had friends fly in. Northwestern played a football game and the Panthers played a hockey game in Chicago area that same day. However, both of my teams lost. I'm going to take that day and switch it up a little bit. So I'm going to go down. That time I went to Lincoln Park Zoo. I'm going to go find a new neighborhood that I haven't explored yet, because I feel like there's a ton of neighborhoods in Chicago. I do Lincoln Park and I do downtown all the time with the Loop. I'm going to find a new one that I haven't explored yet. I don't know which one yet. I'm going to get a recommendation from a fellow Chicago person.
Wicker Park.
Wicker Park, yeah. That's one Adam and Claire have been talking to me about. So we're going to Wicker Park in the morning. Then we've got a Northwestern football game going on because nobody wants to sit through a Chicago Bears game. Like, it's just, I'm sorry. Northwestern's not much better.
I sit through Chicago Bears games every week. And yeah, I agree.
But willingly,
yeah.
like,
Today was good, though.
Okay, so you got 1 out of 17. It's not like Northwestern's much better, but I'm just more of a college football fan. So we're going to a Northwestern football game. Let's say it starts around 2:30. It should be 3:30. East Coast would be a lot better, but it starts around 2:30 because we've been exploring the Chicago neighborhood for the first bit of time. So then that game goes until 6, and then we book it down to the United Center. We're watching a hockey game. Hopefully it's the Panthers, ideally, but of course could be any hockey team. That's great. We're getting dinner at the Giordano's deep dish personal pizza at the United Center. Personally, that's like Giordano's is the best deep dish in my opinion. And then we're coming back to campus. I know, yeah, you know, it's Giordano's, right? They're the best with the sauce usage, in my opinion. And I like the sauce.
I'm a loose guy.
Okay,
I'm a loose guy.
That's fine. Then
we can agree to disagree.
I don't know where I'm getting lunch. Well, I'll find lunch at a place, probably in Wicker Park, is my assumption. And then on my way back, I'm going to Culver's, and I'm getting a snack from Culver's. I'm getting some cheese curds as well as a concrete mixer. And then we're going to the beach, but we're not going to the beach until it's after midnight. If you go to the beach before midnight, what are you doing? Those nighttime beaches are the best, in my opinion. Just sitting out by the water with friends, hanging out, just hearing the waves crash, having late night thoughts until like 4 a.m. That's like what I do at home. That's what I do back home. Like, my best discussions with my best friends have come when we go out to the beach at 1 a.m. and we just stay out there till 4 or 5 o'clock. That's when I have the best time. And then finally, I'll go to sleep late, and I'll sleep in the next morning. And yeah, that's my day.
So the beach comes after the heart attack from the cheese curds and the concrete.
Exactly.
I didn't hear that part of the
I
day.
also, I just got...
Doing a St. Francis hospital visit.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I just got Trader Joe's frozen cheese curds. They're not as good as Culver's, unfortunately, but they're still solid.
I've never had the Culver's cheese curds or the concrete mixers.
Really?
I really want, because they don't have Culver's. It's like a Midwest thing.
I know.
Yeah, so I did have a Culver's burger for the first time recently.
I saw one. They're bringing it back where they're taking a giant cheese curd, like literally making a cheese curd the size of a burger patty and placing it on a burger. It seems incredible. I think I need to go try it.
That is the most American thing
it's
I've
going
ever
to
heard.
continue
That's
the heart attack.
Midwest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. All right, Claire, want to get us off with question 3?
Yeah, those are some great answers. Definitely a lot of good inspiration there. A lot of other stuff. But great answers from you guys so far, and we'll round this out with our final question, early voting. We are gearing up for a general election in a month. I can't believe it's this soon. Early voting is starting up in many states, and don't worry, this isn't that kind of radio show. But we want our guests to do a very different kind of early voting, this time with way less information about the candidates, especially if you're from Pennsylvania. But pick any sport with a season that is kind of just starting up. Football, we'll allow college football here. Basketball, hockey, at either the college or the collegiate or professional level. And then vote for a Heisman or an MVP candidate and explain to us why you think they should win. We'll start with Calvin this time.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to go with more of a dark horse here because I don't want to be the person who just comes on here and says Patrick Mahomes. We have, through 5 games, a potential dark horse at rookie quarterback for the Commanders, who is having one of the best... The bias is coming through. It does not matter. One of the best starts to a season. In fact, highest completion percentage of any quarterback through the first 4 games of any season ever. There was some stat, too, where he had, like, 2 of the same game that Brady, Manning, Rodgers, and Favre had combined for in, like, 1,094 starts. I don't remember the exact statistical qualifications. But Jaden Daniels has brought the Commanders back to relevancy. And, I mean, sure. Will he keep it up for the full season? Possibly not. He's a rookie. He hasn't hit those bumps in the road, only had a couple of interceptions. But when you watch him play, when you watch the arm talent, when you watch the escapability, it's impossible for defenses to game plan for him. He is making Cliff Kingsbury look like the best offensive coordinator in the league. And no disrespect to Cliff Kingsbury, who's a good offensive coordinator, but that is still a difficult task to do. Jaden Daniels has been playing lights-out football. He looks like a 10-year veteran, and I think it's fair to say that he's on at least the outside of the cusp of this MVP conversation, even as a rookie, even right now. That's my pick.
It's a very bold take. Unfortunately, Tyler Huntley will be outperforming him for the rest of the season. I will not be discussing an NFL candidate. I will be, of course, discussing the very clear and obvious Heisman Trophy winner, Cam Ward. 277...
Our second Cam Ward rant of the year.
Did I go on one already? Okay.
I believe you went on one last week, but I'm
here's the great thing. I'm literally writing a column for class right now about Cam Ward, so I could read off this column. However, I'm not going to. I'm going to go off the top of my head on what I remember. But, 277 passing yards and 3 touchdowns would be a very solid day for any quarterback. Cam Ward did that in the fourth quarter alone. He is, without a doubt, changing the program of University of Miami football. He has brought us from just pure torture. We were averaging 6.6 wins a season over the past 7 years. We're now 6-0, looking at finally winning an ACC championship for the first time in 20 years, looking absolutely fantastic. His arm strength is incredible. That was the one thing. I was watching the game last night, and Adam, who hasn't watched a ton of Miami football with me, was just absolutely obsessed with how much arm strength Cam Ward had and how easy he makes throws look, how casual he is with it. His decision making, he's quick, he's able to escape the pocket, he has so much speed, and just the numbers he is putting up. He currently leads the nation in passing yards, leads the nation in touchdown percentages. He is absolutely incredible. If you look at the past 6 Heisman Trophy quarterbacks as well, you look at their first 12 games played in a season. If you were to take Cam Ward's current stats right now and extrapolate them to 12 games, by basically just doubling his stats through 6 games, he would have more passing yards, more touchdowns than all of the previous 6 Heisman Trophy quarterbacks. Cam Ward absolutely deserves to win this Heisman Trophy race. He has been incredible. I mean, the comeback alone, what he did last night, I did not think was humanly possible. I mean, scoring that 25-point comeback, 21 points in I think 12 minutes or whatever. Absolutely incredible. I'm so happy he made me stay awake for it. Yes, he's the reason I'm exhausted right now. Yes, he's the reason I kind of don't have a voice right now. But Cam Ward is incredible. This transfer from Washington State, the guy whose only offer out of high school was from Incarnate Word, he's done incredible. He should be a top 10 pick in the NFL in the next draft, but he deserves to win the Heisman. Was that good enough for, I felt like I was more calm than my last rants.
That was good. I have to say,
Nice.
my parents both chimed in to say us, says Dylan. Why does he say us, referring to you, Miami, instead of Northwestern?
Sorry, but go
but,
Canes, they're my number 1.
No, I can't pretend to understand that, but we will respect it on this radio show. But thank you both for those answers. A lot of great justification here. I gotta say, I feel like sometimes, Sammy will agree with me on this, but sometimes on Pick'em we just kind of get answers and we have to sort of do a lot of the legwork. But I feel like everything is.
No, today was very good, very thorough. I think from both parties involved.
Yes, this is tough. I will have to say for our first question, addicted to the Calgorithm, great answers from both of you. I think from Calvin, the Adams Onus Treaty was a mistake. It's just too hilarious of a sign not to win this one. You happen to sort of pick a poli-sci nerd who was judging your pick'em for this one, so I gotta give that to him. And for my other question, early voting, Dylan, I think you make a great case for Cam Ward. So putting syntax or a little bit of us versus them language aside, I think you take home this one. So that leaves us with Sammy for his
You're
question.
putting the
Mr.
pressure on me,
Guy.
and I'm gonna have to go with Calvin here, taking the win.
Back-to-back weeks of it being rigged.
It's a few things. It was like the swimming in the lake, right? That was big. I like that. That
That's
was fun.
huge. Yeah.
Huge. And a second thing, Giordano's, you gotta go to lose.
Okay, but they don't have lose at United Center, so you want the deep dish experience. It's got to be Giordano.
Well, if you want
I guarantee there's a lose within 2 miles.
But you don't have the time because you're going from that Northwestern game to the Panthers game.
Well, you should have planned out your day better then, because you got
the
Northwestern
the Northwestern game went to triple overtime. What could I do?
Did they win?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, because that's what the Cats go Cats.
Exactly.
Of course.
I'm planning out my perfect day. Of course, the Cats won.
All right, well, now, with time running out here, we are going to get to some national sports before we run our last segment of the show, which is going to be another game. But a lot of fun national stuff going on. And let's start. We got to get a little bit of baseball in. Just a little bit, because I know not everyone here is the biggest baseball fans, but it is playoffs going on right now. And I do want to talk about one team, if nothing else. And that is the New York Mets, who have some sort of magic this year. And I just want to ask you guys, I mean, they had that incredible, not walk-off, they were away, but the go-ahead home run in the top of the ninth inning down, I think 2-0, right, or something. A 3-run homer from Alonso to give them the lead. I mean, just ridiculous, magical postseason stuff. Is the magic real? Are the Mets a team that can make a run this year in the World Series? They're now tied 1-1 in the DS against the Phillies. What are your thoughts?
I mean, to be honest, yes, the magic's real. No, not all the way to the series. I mean, I think it's not... They haven't played consistent enough baseball this year, top to bottom, to be able to make the World Series. I just don't think they're going to get past the Dodgers or the Padres in the CS. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an interdivision NLDS matchup against the Phillies. Anything can happen. I'm not going to be surprised if they make a run, even if they win that series in 4 games. I don't see it continuing to the World Series. I think the Magic's going to run out. This team kind of snuck into the playoffs for a reason, and I don't see them going all the way.
I'm just going to say, the Mets are not winning the World Series. 1, because they are the New York Mets, and the Mets don't win World Series. 2, I don't know. I just feel like teams that have this much magic, it always just tends to die out. Like, as much as you can have, like, the miracle wins kind of things, you need more sustained success. And I don't think I see the Mets really having that. It's fun for a while, but at some point you can't rely on all that late inning magic. I mean, same thing happened in that game 1 against the Braves in the doubleheader where it was it Lindor, I think, who hit the home run in the top of the 9th? Very similar magic situation. At some point that magic will run out. And I'm going to laugh really hard because I don't like the Mets.
Yeah, the verdict is still yet to come out for the New York Mets. I will say, before we move on to some other sports in the interest of time, a team this does remind me of a lot is the 2019 Washington Nationals, which I know Calvin will, as a Nats fan, right?
Nats
fan,
through
DMV.
and through.
Yeah, we share the DMV heritage, so always glad to find another DMVer. But no, the Nationals, it reminds me of that. They started the season struggling. I mean, obviously both NL East teams, and then just strange turns of events. I mean, the Nationals had the baby shark. The Mets have Grimace, right? They both kind of have this weird, similar vibe where it feels like something crazy can happen. Not saying it will, but I don't know. I think, and this is a year I think that it can happen because the top teams in either league are not far and above anyone else. I mean, this is the year where no one won 100 games. The Dodgers, I don't remember who it was. It was some Dodgers fan I was talking to, but they were saying it's like they don't feel like they're the best team in baseball. I think it may have been W. Newmar's Patrick Winograd, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I feel like it was. But like, yeah, he feels like the Dodgers shouldn't be the best team in baseball, yet they are. So, again, it's a wide open field this year more than it has been in past years, and the Mets, they have something going. So we'll see what happens there. But I think it's time to move on to, let's see, NFL or college first. What are we feeling?
College.
All right, let's get to college. This is
NFL.
a crazy week. Clara, I'll let you give us some crazy upsets that went on.
Yeah, listing off these upsets, this was just an absolutely wild week of college football. First, Vandy beats Alabama. This is too poetic with, just all of those Nick Saban quotes about, like, the only easy place to play in SEC is Vanderbilt. Yeah. And Vandy beats Alabama. Kind of a nice moment for me after seeing the Georgia Bulldogs fall to Bama in what ended up being a very close game. But Vandy beats Alabama. Arkansas, victorious over Tennessee. Washington beats Michigan.
That's
obviously,
a big one, yeah.
Lots of
for
changes.
us Big Ten people, that's an interesting one, for sure.
Yeah, still there's a part of me that's a little reluctant to call Washington the Big Ten, but this was a true Big Ten matchup, and, both of these teams obviously undergoing major changes in the offseason, but still a surprising upset. Mizzou destroyed by Texas A&M. And then
I will say, my dad went to Mizzou. I am partially a Mizzou fan, so seeing the scores on that one.
And you're a
journalism
journalism major.
Huh?
And you're a journalism
major.
major.
I have a few great friends over at the J School there, and journalism major. Have to represent the other great journalism schools. But yeah, not good for them over in College Station. Not good.
In another loss for the journalists over at the Annenberg School of Communication at the University of Southern California.
A tough week for journalism schools everywhere.
Rough week
USC,
for the J schools.
Northwestern lost, Mizzou.
Syracuse
won. Syracuse did beat UNLV.
We got one J school.
Miami's got a decent J school.
Prevailed this week, but Minnesota beats USC. Raw for the U of M. Trojans down. Makes me a little happy as a Bruins fan.
Oh, right, of course.
But, this is an absolutely crazy week, which we've been saying, I feel, nearly every week this year. This is such a crazy year of college football.
In every sport, if I'm being honest.
Conference realignment and, the portal obviously are huge parts of that. But, for y'all, which of these was most surprising? Which of the powerhouse teams should be the most concerned? Which of these underdogs are actually legit? Feel free to just really throw out any of those takes here.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm just going to have to go with the chalk pick for what's most surprising. Vanderbilt was 0-60 against AP top 5 teams, and that all changed in one night. And technically, this isn't on Nick Saban's hands because, I mean, Kalen DeBoer has kind of led Alabama to what's really just been a really bad game and a half. Like, it's been Jalen Milroe, it's been Ryan Williams, and it's been nothing else for the Crimson Tide. They have to turn it around. I mean, nonetheless, I'm still stunned that Vanderbilt won, and their $100,000 throwing the goalpost into the river cost is now the SEC just handed them that hefty fine, although I'm sure they'll be getting far more in increased revenue, after that big upset. I would say Mizzou probably should be the most concerned because you talk about a team, they were ranked number 9, I believe, heading into it. Not super tested, but a team that kind of had playoff aspirations. Getting destroyed by Texas A&M, which has showed up in big games, but is also, they're not undefeated on the season. They've been inconsistent this year. That's concerning, and we know this Texas A&M Aggies team has a big fan base behind them, and certainly big-time firepower. Tough place to play at Kyle Field in College Station, but getting beaten by that much, still a major cause for concern. Also, Will Rogers has just been excellent and has led Washington to a resurgence that I don't know if people thought they'd have.
Yeah, I agree with what was just said there. I want to give a huge shout out to Ashley Provost, former WNUR station member who transferred to Vandy. She wrote an article about the one time that Northwestern got to lake the posts, and she was there last night
and now
when they laked it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was really happy for her last night with all of that. Mizzou one is the one that kind of stands out to me. Texas A&M I really did not think was all that great. Losing to Notre Dame, who I don't think is very good this year. Yes, playing at Kyle Field is probably one of the toughest places to play in college football, but getting blown out like that is kind of crazy. Washington, as a Northwestern fan, I guess it feels better to know that Washington is maybe a little bit better than we thought and not complete terrible like we thought after they had lost to Washington State. I think a huge upset as well, of course, Miami picking up that huge win over Cal. What a massive win. People were picking Cal. Pat McAfee, I'm staring over at you. I just think that was the game of the week, personally, that nobody watched just because of how late it was. But, yeah, incredible. 25-point comeback.
No, before we move on, Mizzou, it is really tough because they're a team that, in terms of SEC, came in with a pretty easy schedule. the easiest in the SEC, for sure. So, when you have chances to play ranked teams, they don't get a lot of those opportunities this year. So, if you want to be a CFP team, you got to take advantage of that, and they had a great opportunity to go into Kyle Field and get a big win against a ranked team that they should have beaten, and instead, if it's a close game, that's one thing. You could be like, all right, Kyle Field, tough place to play, whatever. But they lost by 31, and they were losing by 30. They were losing 31-0 at a point. So really rough, and they're gonna have to really wait until October 26th against Alabama, and then Oklahoma. Those are that's their season. Those two games. So as a partial Mizzou fan, a tough weekend. And let's see. I want to do one of the NFL segments maybe before we move on to our last thing, and that is our little fantasy check-in. I think this is a fun one.
Of course, Sammy wants this segment.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I must mention that I am undefeated, guaranteed 5-0 in one of our WNUR leagues. I don't know if the other league has any undefeated people, but I know the one that I'm in doesn't. So 5-0, going strong. Strategy was draft a lot of Chicago Bears. It did me well today.
I would like to say that it's not 100% certain.
That's a different league.
Oh, this is a different league.
It is a different league.
I'm
also beating Claire Connor, my co-host here, in a different league with 98% win probability heading into tomorrow night. So I'm feeling great.
I got 2%, folks. I'm feeling really confident in this team. That's actually a complete lie, not very journalistic of me.
Yeah.
Devon H.N., really tough week for him. Tough week for.
He has a concussion. Don't blame him.
It's pretty tough to have a concussion.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Oh yeah,
that's
it
a tough
is
week
not
for
great.
Zach Charbonnet, kind of mediocre. It's my favorite Seahawks player, Kaimi Fairbairn. Friend of the radio show Adam Beck makes fun of me for how often I like to talk about former UCLA Bruin Kaimi Fairbairn, but
hey, he single-handedly beat the Bears.
Man, I saw this guy kick a 60-yard field goal at the Rose Bowl as a child, and it really changed my perspective
on life,
on kicking, on so many things. He's with the Texans now, but he's putting up like 16 to 20 points a week for my fantasy team. That is not enough to beat Sammy this week because of how trash the rest of my team was, unfortunately. But yeah, I am looking to win my game against Weldon in the WNUR Fantasy League this week, so it's not all terrible for Claire, but congratulations to Sammy
of course,
on such a dominant Bears team that really nobody expected.
Yes, I drafted 6 Chicago Bears, and it turned out to be a great strategy. But I do want to turn it over to you guys real quick. Who's someone on any fantasy team that you have that surprised you? It could be someone who you put in was like, oh man, this is terrible, and then they got 40 points, or someone who's supposed to get like 20 points and got you 2. So just give me something.
The WNUR Juniors, we have a league called Future Mike Greenbergs. I picked up Darnell Mooney off of the waiver wire this week. Put up
Bears
32
legend.
points for me off of the waiver
Yes.
wire, and I'm going to win my matchup this week. First win, I started 0-4, so I'm going to be very
Alright.
happy.
I mean, I'm in a lot of different leagues, honestly, more than I should be in. And I will say one of them, it's got wacky kind of scoring settings. Return yards count double. So we had Raheem Blackshear get 24.2, and combined with that, we had Joe Burrow, George Kittle as well. That's going to get me to the win this week. So it was a really solid big 3 of, 2 typical fantasy stars and then 1 not so typical fantasy star who I drafted in the last round and has been coming through big time because the Panthers have been receiving so many kickoffs because they're losing so many games by 20 plus.
Well, yeah, okay, wait. I actually want to know how many leagues do you think is too many leagues?
That's a great
More than 3.
Well, then I'm in too many leagues, that's
I'm
for
in too many
sure.
as well, but-
I am in too many leagues.
Yeah,
I think
well, what's the number?
I am in like 8 or 9. I think
Whoa.
too many is probably 10 plus, to be honest. Because to be honest, I don't have time to pay attention to all of them. I only really pay attention to a couple, and I just set my lineups in the other ones. If you sit down for 15 minutes every Sunday, go through all of them, and it just it's too much to pay heavy attention to. That's for sure.
Ooh, that's a lot.
It is a lot. Maybe
That's
it's too much.
8 leagues is a full-time job.
Genuinely.
You should be making like $14 an hour, I think, is our Illinois minimum wage, and that is highly impressive stuff. This moves us along to our next segment, Draft Day. It's a fun segment we do. Normally we do a 3-round snake draft. We're running a little bit low on time here. Sammy and I, we have too much fun talking to you
really
guys
do.
every week. But he'll introduce this 1-round draft.
Yeah, 1-round draft. So here's what's gonna happen. Each of you are gonna pick a sports movie. It's almost like a pick 'em, but we'll call it draft day for fun. So I know we all love sports movies. We all love sports. We all love movies. I want both of you guys to give me what you think will be the most convincing sports movie that will win you a point here between me and Claire.
I like the way that this is framed. It's not name your favorite sports movie. It's really we
Yeah,
want
like-
you to pander.
Yes, pander to yes. No, just pick a sports movie that you think we will also like.
I mean, I'm between like 3. I'm just gonna have to go with one based on instinct. I mean, I don't know if you all have seen this, but Remember the Titans? One of the best sports movies of all time.
Great.
And again, it's probably a little bit of a biased pick because it's actually based on a school that's about 30 minutes away from where I live, which is T.C. Williams, who I actually went to one of their middle school basketball games, fun fact, in first grade, and I still remember that to this day. But that's, an incredible story in terms of a football movie. It's pretty much fictional, but based on real events, and I think it's just really well put together and crafted. I kind of want to pick something like Draft Day because, I just love, the idea of seeing
Which is actually
inside.
the name of our segment, so...
Yeah, Draft Day for Draft Day, because it's seeing in the mind of a fake NFL general manager who made some questionable moves in the movie. But I think Remember the Titans, at least storytelling wise, is just an underrated movie, and so I guess I'd ask you to vote for that just on the fact that I think it's underappreciated for how well it's put together.
In any world here, I would say Miracle, but I know you guys do not care enough about hockey.
I love Miracle.
It's
I have very
terrific.
good memories of that movie.
I think, though, for pandering to you guys, though, going hockey is probably not the best option in this situation. So I'm going to go different. Moneyball is tempting, and I think Moneyball would go over very well with you guys. Of course, rip the Oakland A's. Almost a sob story now, turning Moneyball into. It's just tremendous, nerdy movie, I feel like, for people who love baseball. I'm going to go for the slightly more fun, less realistic. We're going Dodgeball. Dodgeball is probably one of my...
Dodgeball? I've never
You've never seen... Okay, then I'm changing my...
I've never seen
okay,
Dodgeball either.
That's the final
No,
answer.
I'm going Moneyball. I didn't give my explanation, so I'm going Moneyball. Moneyball's awesome.
Well, since we had a last-minute change, I think Calvin takes the prize here.
How have you never seen Dodgeball?
No, okay. I think the only thing that... Because I think Remember the Titans is very good. Something that could have beaten that, I think The Sandlot would have beaten that. The Sandlot...
Field of Dreams? Like,
Field of Dreams
Field of
could have.
Dreams,
That was
actually.
considering.
Field of Dreams is
not,
really
not
good.
even a mention. I'll mention Field of Dreams. That was
Yeah.
the auto W.
The Sandlot's great. Field of Dreams is great. There's so many good sports movies, and unfortunately, there is negative time left in our show. It is 9:01. Thank you guys for coming on. Really fun stuff from you guys. Calvin, first of hopefully many sports voices and WR things.